Jennifer, you've been about the worst, the one who misrepresents the most intentionally what the president says. I'm familiar.
About the ventilation shafts on Saturday night. And in fact, I was the first to describe the B-2 bombers, the refueling, the entire mission with great accuracy.
Because you know what's absolutely insane? The United States military, our warriors, our intelligence, our most elite operations, they pulled off a dangerous surgical strike against Iran. We're in the middle of a ceasefire. I mean, the results don't lie. They succeeded. 0 American casualties. The threats were neutralized. The message was sent, and yet the Department of Defense has to get up and not to strategize the next move, but they got to explain themselves to the freaking American media because the press doesn't like the president. Are you kidding me? That was my David Harris Jr. right there. This is where we are in America, folks. We win a mission, the Pentagon, they try to force the Pentagon to apologize for being good at its job. Why? Because military success happened under a president that the media can't stand. That's it. That's the whole reason. Thank God Pete Hegseth is the Secretary of Defense. Play this clip, please.
Because you, and I mean specifically you, the press, specifically you, the press corps, because you cheer against Trump so hard. It's like in your DNA and in your blood to cheer against Trump. Because you want him not to be successful so bad, you have to cheer against the efficacy of these strikes. You have to hope maybe they weren't effective. Maybe the way the Trump administration has represented them isn't true. So let's take half-truths, spun information, leaked information, and then spin it. Spin it in every way we can to try to cause doubt and manipulate the public mind over whether or not our brave pilots were successful. How many stories have been written about how hard it is to, I don't know, fly a plane for 36 hours? Has MSNBC done that story? Has Fox? Have we done the story how hard that is? Have we done it 2 or 3 times so that American people understand? How about how difficult it is to shoot a drone from an F-15 or 16 or F-22 or F-35?
Look at them.
Or what it's like to man a Patriot battery. Or how hard it is to refuel midair, giving the American people an understanding of how complex and sophisticated this mission really was. There are so many aspects of what our brave men and women did that, because of the hatred of this press corps, are undermined because your people are trying to leak and spin that it wasn't successful. It's irresponsible.
Oh, yeah.
And folks in this room are privy to that information because of the proximity here in the Pentagon. It's an important responsibility. And time again, classified information is leaked or peddled for political purposes to try to make the president look bad. And what's really happening is you're undermining the success of incredible B-2 pilots and incredible F-35 pilots and incredible refuelers and incredible air defenders who accomplished their mission, set back a nuclear program in ways that other presidents would have dreamed. How about we celebrate that? How about we talk about how special America is, that only we have these capabilities? I think it's too much to ask, unfortunately, for the fake news. So we're used to that. But we also have an opportunity to stand at the podium and read the truth of what's really happening. And the reality is you want to call it destroyed, you want to call it defeated, you want to call it obliterated. Choose your word. This was an historically successful attack. We should celebrate it as Americans. And it gives us a chance to have peace, chance to have a deal, and an opportunity to prevent a nuclear Iran, which is something President Trump talked about for 20 years, and no other presidents had the courage to actually do.
Look at me. Look at me. I'm a mess. I want to run through a freaking wall. You got military precision success happen under a president that the media doesn't like. And they're going to bitch about it. That's the whole reason, because they don't like him. We're not out here asking questions about mistakes. We're not talking about civilian casualties or some rogue unit. No, textbook win. The only scandal is that it made the Trump administration look competent and strong. Folks, to people like to CNN, MSNBC, it's unforgivable. Whatever's left of the editorial board at the New York Times, to them is unforgivable. And you know what? He didn't leave Fox News out either. He went after the reporter at Fox News. This is one of his colleagues. Don't forget, Pete Hegseth used to be with Fox News. Let's pull that clip up. He's going
That all
to
the
scold
highly
them just as
enriched
well.
uranium was inside the Fordo Mountain, or some of it, because there were satellite photos that showed more than a dozen trucks there 2 days in advance. Are you certain none of that highly enriched uranium was moved?
Of course, we're watching every single aspect, but Jennifer, you've been about the worst. The one who misrepresents the most intentionally what the president says. I'm familiar.
Report about the ventilation shafts on Saturday night, and in fact, I was the first to describe the B-2 bombers, the refueling, the entire mission with great accuracy. So I take issue with that.
I appreciate you acknowledging that this was the
issues.
first the most successful mission based on operational security that this department has done since you've been here, and I appreciate that. So
Absolutely.
we're looking at all aspects of intelligence and making sure we have a sense of what was where.
So why not acknowledge the female pilots that also participated in this mission? The early messages that you sent out only congratulated the boys.
So when I say something like our boys and bombers, see, this is the kind of thing the press does, right? Of course, the chairman mentioned a female bomber pilot. That's fantastic. She's fantastic. She's a hero. I want more female bomber pilots. I hope the men and women of our country sign up to do such brave and audacious things. But when you spin it as, because I say our boys and bombers as a common phrase, I'll keep saying things like that, whether they're men or women. I'm very proud of that female pilot, just like I'm very proud of those male pilots. And I don't care if it's a male or a female in that cockpit, and the American people don't care.
Let's stop it right there. Let's stop it right there. So, because here's the thing. When you say our boys, let me just say as a side note, okay, our boys over there, that was the rallying cry after the U.S. entered the war in World War I in 1917. World War II, the phrase was even more widespread because the headlines were "Support our boys at the front" and "Our boys need you." That's what they said. Even Hollywood joined in with the films and the newsreels talking about our boys. Bob Hope used the term during the USO tours. And you're like, we talked about our boys in Europe and our boys in the Pacific. It's a harken back to wartime phraseology, folks. Oh, but we could be more inclusive. Shut up. Shut up. It's an old rallying cry talking about our boys. But see, you can't pull something like that when it comes to the media. You got to say this kind of stupid woke-ass crap and ask these questions. Let me say it real slowly for the people in the back. The media would rather America lose, and they play this rhetoric crap like this. They'd rather America lose than Trump win. They don't care if our enemies are emboldened. They don't care if our troops are undermined. They don't care if victory is turned into controversy, as long as they can keep gaslighting the American public into hating the commander-in-chief, or in this case, Hegseth, for using a phrase like "our boys in those planes." This is not journalism. It's psychological warfare against the American people on the part of the mainstream media. It's a propaganda campaign. It just comes dressed in press credentials, and you got to call it out for what the hell it is. It's a partisan bitterness disguised as journalism. The Pentagon, the Office of the Department of Defense, the Office of the Joint Chiefs, it exists for one reason: to defend this nation, not to cater to the emotional insecurities of professional crybabies in the press pool. Every time the Pentagon is forced to downplay, clarify, respin an operation because it doesn't align with CNN's feelings or the New York Times editorial board, it sends one message to the world, and that is America's strength is conditional on media approval. Because this is a domestic and international embarrassment. It's a signal to our adversaries, our enemies, the people that want us dead. People in Iran, Russia, China. It says that the United States can fracture itself over its own victories. It tells the world that the enemy doesn't have to outgun us, outmaneuver us, or outbomb us. They just have to outlast our freaking news cycle. So you have these generals, operatives, and strategists are doing real work. They're in real danger. Our boys in those planes, their job isn't to be popular. It's to be effective. And damn it, they were effective the other day. And every time they do something bold, decisive, and God forbid successful, here comes the fucking media clowns. I mean, was this an escalation? Did you mean to say our boys? Was it ethical? Was it politically motivated? Did you really get the uranium? Why were there trucks 2 days before? Why were there 6 holes when you said they dropped 12 bombs? Was it effective? Answer, yes. There's a ceasefire. Case closed. But we don't get that anymore. Now our defense operations are judged not by tactical brilliance, but by how many journalists feel unsettled after reading a press release. It's absolutely pathetic. You want to know how this would have played out if Obama had ordered the same strike? Let me paint the picture for you. CNN would have aired a slow-motion dramatization of orchestral music that would be narrated by freaking Morgan Freeman. Morgan Freeman. That's a different Morgan. Michelle would be on The View talking about how Barack was so strong and so peaceful. The media would have thrown a Nobel Peace Prize on layaway for him. Trump does it, though. No. Now it's reckless. Now it's authoritarian. Now it's unpresidential. And what changed? It wasn't the mission. It wasn't the facts. It was just the guy in the Oval Office. That's the problem. Because, folks, this isn't about truth. It's about narrative control. It's about power. And they're terrified that strength is being shown without their permission. Play the clip of the bunker buster. We got that thing, don't we? We got that footage of that bunker buster hitting. Pull that thing up there. Let me show you what power looks like. Look at this precision strike. Dan raising Cain, baby. He's going to show it to them. Put it right in their face. Show this sucker. Middle of the night, it turns into daylight, baby. Play it. Boom. Good Lord. Look at that thing. The technology of that bomb. Well, we don't see it busting. Well, it's got to get to the bunker first, fool. 300 feet below ground. You're going to see this. The media is going to have a meltdown over optics.
You'll see inside the mission space. Unlike a normal surface bomb, you won't see an impact crater because they're designed to deeply bury and then function. I know there's been a lot of questions about that. All 6 weapons at each vent at Fordo went exactly where they were intended to go. A bomb has 3 effects that causes damage: blast, fragmentation, and overpressure. In this case, the primary kill mechanism in the mission space was a mix of overpressure and blast, ripping through the open tunnels and destroying critical hardware. The majority of the damage we assessed based on our extensive modeling was a blast layer combined with the impulse extending from the shock. Imagine what this looks like 6 times over.
All right. See, what the media wants is for our enemies to see weakness. Raising Cain here is going to show you what really disturbs our enemies. Because while the media has a meltdown over optics of an operation, let me tell you who's watching this circus in the world. Iran, China, North Korea, Russia, they all see the same thing. They see a country that fights itself over its own victories. Rather than a celebration in the streets, we have a nation that treats strength as a sin and success as a scandal. I'm sick to death of it. Literally handing our enemies the blueprint. You don't outgun America, you just outspin it. You wait for the press to sabotage its own government and then call that democracy. This isn't just embarrassing, folks. It's dangerous. If you agree with me, float that American flag in the chat. Let me see you. The double standard is as clear as it is treasonous. Yeah, I said it, treasonous. Because under a Democrat, military action is heroic. Under a Republican, especially this one, it's imperialistic. Under a leftist president, drone strikes to the tune of 26,000 at one time by Barack Obama in 7 simultaneous nations. That would be called a necessary evil. And don't forget, he killed civilians with it. Nobody's talking about that. But under Trump, they're going to call that evidence of fascism. Do you see the pattern yet? They don't hate war. They love war. They want war. It gives them something to talk about. It makes money for the war. Well, I got words. The problem is with the media, they just hate losing control of the freaking story. And they really hate anything that makes Trump look like a competent leader on the world stage. I love it when he goes to The Hague. I love it when he stands in front of NATO. I love it when world leaders refer to him as daddy while the children are playing and fighting out in the yard. And you got the Department of Defense, our war-fighting backbone, is dragged into a PR campaign, wasting their freaking time. They didn't sign up for that. It's disgusting. And here's the truth, folks. Our troops are doing their job. The Pentagon doing its job. You want to talk about how Pete Hegseth was incompetent, he shouldn't have been chosen. Thank God he got chosen, because not only did he get the job done, but he comes out and makes these people look like the shameless assholes that they are. The question is, Are we backing our warriors? Please, God, tell me that we are. I think we are. Are we standing behind our men and women who risk everything while the press risks a bad headline? We need to stop demanding that our defenders get media approval before they act. The job is to win, and they're doing it, so let's let them. Is there a ceasefire? I mean, I would say the proof's in the pudding, folks. The only people that should be on the defensive are the media hacks that are undermining our war fighters. So I love this press conference. I loved it. It broke me, dude. I was fired up. I'm ready to run through a wall. Because we're not a nation of apologies. We're not a nation of second guessers and hindsight hand wringers. We're a nation of doers and fighters and finishers, and that's what got done with this job. I love it, man. Our military just pulled off a master class in precision and strength. And if it offends you, maybe you ought to ask yourself who you're rooting for, because it sure as hell isn't America. We don't need to defend our wins. We need to defend the people trying to tear them down from within. That's the media. So to the media, you don't get to redefine patriotism. You don't get to ask those questions that undermine that. You don't get to twist victories into sins, and you damn sure don't get to lecture our heroes from the comfort of your echo chamber sitting there in an air-conditioned building in the Pentagon. God bless our troops. God bless the truth, man. God bless the men and women that pull this off. God help the fools that are trying to shame us for being strong. All right, I'm breathing.